What if I told you there's a structure out there, 1,000 years old, that modern science just can't quite figure out? We're talking about a temple that seems to just laugh in the face of physics and engineering as we know it today. All right, let's get into what is honestly one of the greatest architectural mysteries on the entire planet.
And it all really starts with this number right here, 80 tons. Just let that sink in. We're talking about a single solid block of granite weighing 80 tons that's sitting at the very top of this ancient temple.
So naturally, that leads to the big question, the one that has engineers and archaeologists just scratching their heads. How on earth, a full 1,000 years ago, with zero cranes, zero modern machinery, how did they lift the weight of 10 elephants 20 stories into the air? So to even begin to unpack how they might have pulled that off, we've got to get to know the structure itself. Because really, this thing is a true marvel that on just about every level feels, well, impossible.
We're talking about the Brihadisvara Temple, sometimes called the Big Temple, in Thanjavur, India. It was built by the legendary Chola Emperor Rajaraja I, and trust me, that's a name that just screams power and genius in South Indian history.
Now take a look at this timeline. The Emperor Rajaraja I had a pretty long reign, but the temple itself, the whole thing was built in just 7 years. 7, from 1003 to 1010. I mean, that is absolutely staggering, even for today's construction crews. It's no wonder it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Okay, let's get into the real nuts and bolts of the engineering here, because this is where the puzzle gets even wilder. See, these builders weren't just fast, they were absolute masters of logistics and material science. The whole temple is made of granite. And we're not talking a little bit of granite, we're talking over 130,000 tons of it. An absolutely colossal amount of stone.
But here's the real kicker. There's no granite to be found anywhere near the temple, not for miles and miles. The closest quarry was over 60 kilometers away. So just think about that for a second. 1,000 years ago, they had to somehow dig up all that rock, transport it 60 kilometers, and then build the temple. It's just mind-blowing.
You think that's crazy? What about this? 0. That's how much mortar, cement, or any kind of binding agent was used. Nothing. Not a single drop to hold all those thousands of tons of granite together. So what does that even mean? It means the entire 216-foot-tall temple is basically a giant, perfectly designed puzzle. Each stone interlocks with the ones around it, and this technique was so good, so flawless, that the building has survived more than 1,000 years of storms, monsoons, even earthquakes, without so much as a scratch. It's just perfect.
Which brings us back to that 80-ton question. How did they get that massive capstone all the way to the top? Well, the leading theory is just pure, brilliant, brute force engineering. The idea is they built a gigantic ramp out of earth, an incline that might have stretched for kilometers. Then they put the huge stone on rollers and, using the combined power of countless men and elephants, just dragged it all the way up. Can you even imagine the scale of an operation like that?
But you know, the genius here isn't just about the sheer size and weight of it all. It's also in the small things. These incredibly clever details. We're talking about a total mastery of light, shadow, and, get this, sound. You might have heard this popular legend that the temple's tower doesn't cast a shadow at noon. Now the reality is even cooler, I think. It's not magic, it's just brilliant design. The base of the tower is so incredibly wide and perfectly angled that at high noon, it completely absorbs its own shadow. The shadow never actually touches the ground around it. How smart is that?
And that same level of genius applies to sound. This is where we get into something really extraordinary, something you see in a lot of South Indian temples from this era. Musical pillars. Yeah, you heard me right. These aren't just holding up the roof. They're actual musical instruments carved right out of the stone.
These pillars, carved from solid granite, are tuned to produce different musical notes when you tap them. Some play the scales of Indian classical music. Others, called blowing pillars, are hollowed out, so when the wind passes through, they sound just like a conch shell. They even classified the rocks based on sound, male stones for clear bell-like sounds and female stones for more metallic ones. Just incredible acoustic engineering.
So we have this incredible physical engineering, right? But what if there's more to it? Some theories suggest the temple was built for a completely different reason, to actually channel the natural energy of the earth. To get what that means, we need to talk about something called geomagnetic hotspots. Basically, these are places on Earth where the planet's natural magnetic field is way stronger than normal. And a lot of ancient cultures believed these spots were places of immense power,
places that could have a real impact on your well-being, even your consciousness.
Well, it turns out the location of the big temple was probably no accident at all. The theory is that it was deliberately built right on top of one of these powerful hotspots, what some people call a ley line, specifically to tap into and amplify that natural energy. And hey, this brings us right back to our 80-ton friend, the Capstone. In this theory, that stone isn't just a heavy lid. It's actually designed to act like a cosmic antenna, helping to capture that geomagnetic energy and circulate it throughout the temple, creating this powerful atmosphere of peace and well-being for everyone inside. So when you start putting all these pieces of the puzzle together, you realize you're not just looking at a building. What you're looking at is a legacy of knowledge so profound that we are still, 1,000 years later, just trying to wrap our heads around it.
I mean, let's just recap for a second. We've got a 130,000-ton granite temple built with zero mortar. An 80-ton stone lifted 216 feet into the air with no machines. A design that shows a complete mastery of light, shadow, and sound. And to top it all off, it's placed perfectly on a geomagnetic energy hub.
It really leaves you with one massive question, doesn't it? Was this some kind of forbidden engineering? A technology so advanced it almost seems alien to us now? Or are we just looking at the evidence of a science that's been forgotten? A deep wisdom our ancestors had that we've somehow lost along the way and are only now beginning to rediscover?